I just want to thank all of you for being here today. Season Conversations, we started it in January, and we've been, and in this industry of senior living, there's so many changes, and we just want conversations to get started so that so many people aren't caught off guard. We just want people to make decisions about their own lives, and we've got a wonderful selection of panelists here this morning, and I'm so excited about that. But first of all, I want to thank our legacy partners, because without them, this would be very difficult to make happen. I want to start out with Kathleen Warsawski. Did I pronounce that right? Yay! She is the editor, owner of Blue Book, Senior Blue Book. And we have Leslie Farron, with today 50 plus today. And full of exciting information. She's got all our resources. She's got fun to do things, so you don't want to miss out on that. Abby Holiday Companies, which Tamara, she is a part of, Tana is a part of, and I am a part of. And we have Dallas Supreme Relocations, which many of the panelists here today have inspired that company, because we do full service, kind of help you get it together, help you get settled, and so I'm very thankful for the inspiration in this room. So thanks again. We'll be adding more, hopefully, legacy partners, keep this good vibe going. And so, what else did I want to say? Told you about the refreshments. There are restrooms halfway down. There's water if anyone wants, with Tamara back there. And we have menu tags if you didn't already have one. We do this every second Thursday, and it'll be a different topic each time. In fact, Miss Martha is going to tell you about one thing that's new. That Nikki Bucklew, she's going to mention Nikki a lot. Nikki is my mentor. She started Seniors Real Estate Institute. She's out of Oklahoma. And so I've been under her for the last 10 years. So it's been a good journey, a very good journey. So without any more ado, I want you to look at your partners. Look at someone next to you today and say, I'm going to learn something today.
Hopefully we both will. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right, so let's see. I'd like Martha to come up first, please. Martha Pendleton. You can bring it if you want, especially your water. You might try to get it. There you go. So Martha was introduced to me by Nikki. She came here from Oklahoma. Go ahead, thank you. And we were able to help her with Dallas Supreme Relocations and getting her set up. And it was a great, great experience. And then we have Monica Scott. Unfortunately, I did not get to help Monica yet. But we met at Leadership Richardson, and we just hit it off and talking about the stories, and the energy was just, she gets it. And so thank you for being here, Monica. I'd like to bring up George McCarron. I have to seat him strategically.
It's a George sandwich.
George, his family was quite an inspiration as well. Have to see George. Now, I worked with his mom, with his wife and his son a lot during his move. So I'm sure he'll forgive me if I kind of insert some information that he may have not been privy to.
So that's some of the stuff I learned.
Yes, and George also, he's a lawyer that does estate planning and wills, so he's a very good contact to have as well.
And divorce work, if any of that.
And then we have Deborah Collins, my longtime inspiration. She, yeah, bring your water in the first with you. Yeah. We, what year was that we met on this journey?
Originally in 2016 or 17,
2016, 2017. So it could be a journey. So please, if you are thinking about it or know anyone who's thinking about it, I have no problem making the introductions early and just kind of guiding them along the way. Not that they'll listen, but we do what we can. All right. Can anyone tell me if they're here for anything specific that you wanted to? I'd like to kind of hear what you think you're going to hear today, or what you want to hear today. Nothing? You're just wide open?
Here to learn.
Here to learn, whatever it is. How about?
The same. I'm just very interested in the whole moving process that people go through as they move from a house they lived in for 30, 40 years into the next phase of life, whether it might be a condo or a townhome or a community.
Very cool. All right, thanks. I think I'll grab a chair right quick. Hi. Thanks. See, I'm not counting today either. Okay. A little bit more? Or on this side maybe? I'll sit next to Martha.
I'll move. There you go.
There we go. Okay. All right. So I've come up with some questions, and when I finish, I'd like you to start thinking, well, even before then, you may have some questions, but if you go ahead and ask them after I get done, I'll open it up and all right. So I first want to start off with where you used to live and where you live now. Can you kind of give us a little bit about that history? We'll start with Deborah.
Okay. I used to live in a almost 6,000 square foot home, and it was a family home with my children and my husband until we got a divorce, and I decided to stay in the home in 2007 because we had moved in. We had built it a couple of years before, and that home that I had, it was always to be shared with family, friends, and to enjoy. I always had in the back of my mind, since I was divorced, that when my children graduated from high school in 2008, that I was going to sell that house. Had that in the back of my mind. 2008 came around. The economy, as you all know, was a little different, so it was best for me to stay in that. Yeah, I remember. So it was best for me to stay in that house. So I stayed a little longer just because it wouldn't make sense for me to sell. And then I got more attached to it because the kids were going off to college, and that was the whole reason why they graduated from high school in 2018. They went to college, and now it's time for me to be, free. So with that, I had all these parties. I kind of got a little attached, but I always knew my goal. I kept my eye on the goal. So how I met Angela is that a mutual friend told me about her. So now it's time to downsize because I always wanted to downsize. What I didn't want to do is downsize to a transition home. However, Angela was always there for me to make sure that happened. And that's what happened. I transitioned to an 1,800 square foot home. And imagine where all that stuff went. It's like in storage right now, pieces in storage everywhere. And thanks to Angela, it was managed more. And I'll get into a little bit more later when she asked the question about that, how she helped me with the process and helped me get the people in place that I needed to help me make this move. Because it was pretty interesting how she did it.
Thank you, Deborah. George?
Angela, my wife and I had been living in Richland Park for 42 years when she came down with Parkinson's. And she couldn't cook anymore, she couldn't clean anymore, so we wound up getting a hold of this young lady to sell the house for us, and she did an incredible job, got a very good, I wish we still had it and could sell it at today's prices, but you know, she handled it very well for us, and we moved out to a place called the Atria, and we're there for a couple of years. Dorothy is still, Parkinson's has still got her, she spends most of her day lying on her back, either in bed or in the chair in the dining room, sitting up, watching TV. She can't get up and walk and go do things, which definitely makes your life together more relaxing. I could say really friggin' boring, you know, but that's relaxing. And you know, we're doing okay. She is getting a little better. She at least now knows who I am. Can talk with anybody, knows them when they come to visit. That's a positive. So we were very glad to get this young lady involved because she walked us through, and actually, as an attorney, it's hard for me. She actually told me what to do sometimes. And I usually just agreed with her. I thought I would argue with her for a minute.
So I'm going to back up with Ms. Dorothy, beautiful woman. She, oh, and then you all were one of the original owners in our neighborhood.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so they lived there, had the house, one of the first owners, and they pretty much set the pace for that climate. And we, in that neighborhood, we try to stay put, right? No one wants to leave. But she came to one of my talks about right-sizing 8 years before they actually made the move. So, and between the times she would call and ask for tips or things about the house. So, and then I got a call from her daughter 8 years later, and they kind of told me what the plan was, and it was great. I did work a lot with the wife and the children, so that is something that does happen a lot too, especially, and it was wonderful working with his children because they're all together on the same page. Beautiful family.
And that's 2 boys and 1 woman that usually are all together on the same page.
Yeah, so great
Amazing
job.
what happens sometimes.
Okay, Monica, you
Well,
tell us your story.
We're talking about my parents, not me, right? So my,
But that's important.
yeah.
Yeah.
We moved to Richardson when I was 4, so my parents had lived in that home for over 50 years. And my mom broke her foot back in May. They're 93 and 94 this month. And she's fully recovered, but the house is a beautiful multi-level, you know, you step down into the living room, and you step down into the kitchen, and, you know, all of these, and then it was 2 stories, so for a hip was a challenge. So we decided, you know, they found a nice condo in my sister's condo complex just right across the street, so we felt like that was the right thing to do. So we moved them, and they love it. So
Where are they living now?
they're living in Garland in a condo, so just across the street. So my dad hates that he's not in Richardson, but he's
Awesome. Very good. That's what matters. Thank you. And Ms. Martha?
Okay, I've owned my home in the Village, which is a suburb of Oklahoma City, and lived there for 55 years. And
In the same home?
in the same home, my children were born and brought home there and grew up there, but realized that at some point I needed to move closer to where my family were because my children didn't stay in Oklahoma. And so my daughter is here in Rockwall now, and so I was interested in selling my home and downsizing there, and I now live in the Lux in Rowlett, which is a 55 above active
Active
living. Active.
There you go.
So,
Awesome.
yeah.
So what factors caused you to move?
Just the fact that there was nobody in Oklahoma of family members. And when my parents retired, they moved to be in Oklahoma near me, where when they needed more help, I was available. And so I decided, and well, my family and I decided that it would make sense for me to move here where my daughter is. So when I get to the point that I need more help, then we'll be close to each other and she won't have to be driving back and forth to deal with that.
Awesome. Did you have any sorrow about leaving the house, or were you ready?
I was ready. No yard work and all the other things that go along with owning a home. I don't have that responsibility anymore. I miss some of the activities I was in, and I miss the people, but I'm staying in touch and still know what's going on there. So I'm happy to live, downsize into a small one bedroom apartment. So it's for me, that's fine.
Perfect. What factors caused your parents to move, Monica, and how long did they think about it?
So they, as they progressed in age, they always talked about they wanted to go live in the Twin Rivers area, or they wanted to go to live in Highland Springs. It's just not time yet, 93, 94. They still have a lot of time to do that. So they've thought about it for a while, but the hip was the catch.
Hip was the-
Yeah.
So it was after the fact, the crisis came and you had to think about
Yes.
what's next.
Right.
Okay.
Right, so that really triggered the decision to either, we would have to either renovate the entire downstairs of their house to make sure that she could get through, with a walker potentially, or, so we just made a better idea.
Okay, thank you. And George, you said it was because your wife started to get sick, get illness?
Well, that was what caused everything that happened. That's what caused us to move. She couldn't cook anymore. She couldn't clean the house. Made sense. We go to the atrium, and all of our kids were gone at that point in time. None of them lived here until 2 years ago when they graduated from college. Candace, our daughter, had gone to med school down at UT Galveston. She went to South Carolina and a hospital there to do her internship, and met a young man, and they got married, and they stayed there. Our middle son, middle child, Tobin, went to the Air Force Academy and graduated from there in 1999, and stayed in the Air Force until two years ago. He retired now he's getting half of his monthly pay, gratis of the American taxpayer. And he moved back. His wife's mother also lives in Richardson. So when he retired, they decided to move back here, and he bought some property up in Lucas. It's a 2-3 acre with a big home on it, and then he bought another home, one home away from his home up there. And last year, early in the year, Candace, our daughter, she decided that she and her husband and their 3 kids were going to move back here also. And now they're renting that home from Tobin, but the 2 of them are a 5-minute walk apart, 5 grandkids, and Dorothy loves it. I mean, all of a sudden, instead of just me to put up with, she has 2 of her kids and their spouses and 5 grandkids here. They love their DD. They do. They
That's
love me
special.
too. But
Love that.
to one of the pair, I'm Grandpa Sir. To the other family, I'm Dude. So, it's interesting.
Yeah. Did you have any fear or concerns about moving?
Well, I didn't want to
Initially.
move from Richmond Park. I mean, I loved having a pool in the backyard, and I loved doing the yard work, and I had a home beer refrigerator on the first floor, but it didn't make sense. So we moved to the atrium, a lot of downsizing, had to get rid of a lot of stuff. Stayed there for a couple of years, and then Dorothy got worse, and we had to go to an assisted living facility, which we're at the Ivy now up in McKinney. And it's okay, but my God, talk about small. And we've got a storage facility that we've got so much in that I have to do something. We're paying $399 a month for it. It's ridiculous to be spending $4 grand a month. Some of the stuff we would want to keep, some of the stuff I hope our kids might want, but so far, just paying the money and leaving it there.
Okay. And how about you, Deborah? You told us about that you had already planned
Right.
to move, but what degree did your family and friends have with your decision when you finally moved? Because, you know, that's a long time, 2008 to 2018.
Yes.
So,
So-
tell us about that.
Actually, they were the reason it was hard for me to decide to move, because my children, who for some reason thought that they were going to graduate from college and come back home and live with at home for a while so they could transition. And I said, well, no, that's not how it works. So I had to convince them, and I kind of took my time doing that because I know my kids, my daughter actually cried. And I also have a bonus daughter that lived with me in her senior year of high school, so she became attached to the home as well. And she had ins and outs. She wanted to graduate from college, and she graduated from college a year after my children, so I had her to consider. So we kind of stayed a little longer for that. And then we had all these celebrations and parties that the kids needed, and I did too. I enjoyed it. So it became harder than I thought it would be because of that. And that's where the family got in and the emotions got in. And then comes along Angela and tries to remove all of that. She knows how hard that was for me. So she was persistent. She would, she would contact me. My whole thing was my house was 3 levels. It was just overwhelmingly, just every floor was full with furniture. I mean, just laid out, not big and gawky, just laid out. So every time I looked at a room to move, I walked out because it was just too much. So Angela suggested I get an organizer. Is that what she was called? An organizer. So she came over, and the good news about her is that whenever I would tell her, I'm very slightly controlling and want things done the way I think they should be done.
Really?
Yeah, I know, right? So I would tell her things, and she would patiently, pull me back. And then I just said, well, I'll leave this room. You do what you have to do, and I'll be back in an hour and see if it's okay. And she was really good. She would put things she thought I could say and not say. So that person is good. So the organizer. And then I thought about, okay, I want my house to be sellable without a lot of back and forth from people about, you gotta fix this, fix that. Angela recommended then he was a pre-inspector, and I got that pre-inspector, and I can tell you guys, that made all the difference in the world. Because when it was time to sell, after that, it was just smooth sailing. Still, I'm taking my time now because I ran into some health issues around between 2017, 16, didn't know what was going on, so I started seeing a lot of doctors. So it kind of slowed the move up drastically. So kind of had to halt there. And I just told Angela, I said, we got to get a move on it because I'm losing my money. I had my savings that I was dipping into now because I had retired at 55, which was always my goal. And I thought, well, something's wrong. And I called Angela every time something was wrong. And she would just say, calm down, I got this. What do you need next? I said, well, how am I going to get rid of this furniture? And then she recommended an estate planner. And that lady was awesome. She came in and she told me she could sell a bottle of 409 if she needed to. She was great. And just all these people that Angela brought into place, that's really what helped me go forward with the move. And then I said, okay, Angela, I'm ready. So we staged the house. And Angela came over, she looked at it, it was fine. And that's when the ball really got going with the sale of the house after we staged it. And it was, I didn't want to leave and let people come in there like that. Angela and her husband came over each time and they had that handled. So I felt comfortable with her. So I'm now beginning to get more comfortable with Angela as well because I knew she would protect everything. And she, more than that, she protected me from me, which was good. And she protected me from just anything that I thought was going to come up. She was so good. I could call her any time of night until her husband said, you can't get another call after 8 o'clock. No more talking after 8 o'clock, so that's kind of where we are now.
As an attorney, I learned to do that because people would call me at all hours. And usually after a couple of calls at night, I would call the party, say, look, I charge you twice as much money for the late afternoon, late evening phone calls, so maybe you ought to just start calling me during the workday from 9 to 5. And it worked.
Yeah, it really did do that. And I lived in Lake Ridge in Cedar Hill with a picturesque lake when I'm coming down the hill, all the trees. I did not want to leave that, you guys. It
Another
was
thing
beautiful.
special about her house is how many homes do you know that have a basement?
Full.
So she had a wonderful, like another home there. It's
Right.
really cool.
That belonged to my children. So they thought.
But we won't get into how she got rid of all her things, since she's still getting rid of them.
I'm paying for storage, George.
We'll pass that. How about you, Mr. McCarron?
On what?
How did you get rid of all your things? Let me see how in tune.
Well, we had, when we moved from, now our home in Richland Park was about 3,000 square feet, wasn't nearly too big. But we couldn't move all this stuff from there into the atrium. So some of it, and well, if y'all are still in your home and you've been married and there for a while, you've got so much junk up in the closets and in the attic that you just don't want to get rid of. Well, you got to when you're making a move like this, because the place we moved to the atrium wouldn't handle it all. So we did put a bunch of stuff in storage out there, but we got rid of some stuff. And then when we moved from the atria into the ivy, we had to downsize again. So again, we got rid of some more stuff, put a little more of it in the storage facility.
Now, George, I heard, like after we decided what you would take, that you came back to the house a few more times.
Richmond Park.
Uh-huh.
Well, I went, before it got sold and occupied by other parties, I went over and swam in the backyard pool.
Okay. Monica, how did it go for you?
Well, when they decided to move, we tried to just tell them, move what you want, and then we'll figure out how to get rid of the rest. And so they did. They moved what they really needed and worked on, making sure everything fit. And then they went back several times and got more things, and they just couldn't stand it. So we just kind of went through it, and we donated a ton of stuff to Network. We had a really great relationship with that organization. I think you guys had the event there last time.
Yeah.
And I still have a room full of old records. If anybody needs any, vinyl, I've got old several books, boxes of books and things that I still have. But they're just antiques, they're hard to part with. So maybe that's my fault. But we don't have a storage unit. I feel better about that now. I guess my guest room could be the storage unit. But they did pretty good about getting, and then they're still getting rid of things. Trying to kind of pack their new place, and now they're still working on it.
I've got a player for the old,
Okay.
large
Turntable.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Well, so Ms. Martha was a part of a right-sizing club, right? Or did y'all call it a downsizing
The
club?
downsizing club,
Okay.
yes.
So tell us how it went for you in terms of getting rid of the things that you couldn't take.
I had so much good advice and so much help from Buffalo Realty and the Downsizer Club and OKC Mature Moves on advice on what to get rid of and how to get rid of it. And once I was able to locate the apartment complex where I moved to, then Angela and I met over there and decided what I really had room for there, and so I knew what I was going to move, and then we were able to set up an estate sale through the OKC Mature Moves and got rid of everything else, and I don't know what happened to it, but it's gone.
Okay, all right. You didn't go back to try to get anything?
No,
Okay.
I did not go back.
Because you knew there was gonna be any place to put it. We did the space planning, didn't we?
Right.
Right, very good. What is one piece of advice you would give if you had to do it all over again?
Find a realtor that works with downsizing and with senior citizens and has the resources to sell the house and have an estate sale and decide what goes and what doesn't and get the movers, get everything going with you and work with you so you don't have anything that you have to do all by yourself.
And the decisions that were made, you made them, right, overall?
I made them
You had-
with the advice of others. I've never felt pressured, but I just felt like I had the support and help that it went it's very smoothly.
Okay, very good, thank you. How about you, Monica, if you had to do it all over again, helping your parents?
I would have called you, I mean, so many things that we kind of negotiated through on our own, but it sounded like there was so many other resources we could have used, so.
Yeah, so just knowing about the resources
Yeah.
would be helpful.
That's right.
Great. George, if you had to do it again,
I don't have to, I'm in the Ivy.
you good?
It's been done different.
Well, I would, again, if I was still in the house, I'd call you. You did a good job last time, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I did not pay them for that. Okay, thank you. Deborah, any words of wisdom?
Yeah, I would say always make sure that you have a single point of contact, like Angela, but she has so many references that I could utilize, and then that takes a lot of stress off of you. Make sure that you have everything packed well by a professional. If you can't pack, before the movers get there on moving day.
Yes, about Deborah, she is so organized. I mean, if I'm ever in her house and I ask her, where, I need this, she knows exactly which room, which closet, which drawer. I'm like, oh my gosh. But then, she still needed an organizer just to help her, remove herself from some of the things.
Right.
Yeah, so, now I'm finished asking my questions. Do we have any from the audience?
All right, I have a question. So, each of you did your transition at different ages, and do you feel like you waited too long?
I'll answer that. I don't. I'm glad I did it at that age because I can't even imagine doing it now.
And how
Because
old were you, Deborah?
I was, 60? Had to be 62 or 61 when I did it. And so now I'm more comfortable because I'm 65 this year. And it's like I'm getting to the point now to where I'm really looking to settle down in my place, in my space. I just need to get the estate seller back involved to help me get rid of a lot of things. Because I still have a lot of things I need to get rid of. Yeah.
You remember, you're not getting older, you're just getting more and more mature.
Yeah, exactly. I'm seasoned, George. Very well seasoned, but not too seasoned. Not overdone. So, yeah.
And George, do you feel like that it would have been better for you and your wife to have transitioned earlier?
Well, we didn't have any choice. And we did. We could have said, hell no, we're just going to stay right here, Dorothy, and you're just going to have to get by without being able to cook. A lot of expense involved, getting people in to take care of her and everything. So it really wasn't. I'm glad we found this lady to sell the house, and I'm glad we found about the atria. And that's not an assisted living, it's just a senior living community. But the big difference, Dorothy finally got what she needed, the assisted living. Instead of, it was our $3,000 a month at the atria, we carried long-term care insurance for 20 years and paid $750 a month or so. So now the Ivy is getting paid by our insurance company. I can buy a lot more beer.
I think for my folks, I mean, I they're pretty stubborn and they're still very active. So, you know, in their 90s even, they're still, you know, active in the church and hospital and things like that. So, you know, sure, I would have loved for them to transition. It would have been safer for them, but they're doing their own thing. You know.
Good.
I made the choice to move at this point because I wanted to move while I was still active enough and able to drive, to establish new friendships and new activities. And I'm still able to do that. I'm over 80, but still staying young and active. And so it seemed like it was the right time to do.
Awesome. Thank you. Good question.
So I'm curious, Martha, you shared that you joined a downsizing club. So you stepped into it slowly, or was that, I've never heard of one before, so I'm kind of
Okay,
curious.
yeah, this is through the Buckler Realty that Nikki,
Part of the Certified Senior Housing Professional
yeah.
plan, she put all that together.
Yeah. I got acquainted with the Senior Living Truth seminars that Nikki and her crew did several years ago. There was an article in the newspaper, and I think it was in 2017, I knew that at some point I was going to do that and needed to start thinking about what needed to be done. And started going to those once monthly, similar to this. And then when we got closer to the actual move, they established the Downsizer Club about a year ago, I think. And that gave me, we met once a month and more detailed things of what the actual home sale would look like and who would needed, you know, all the legal things that went along with it, a lot of the details of the moving that I would have never thought of if I hadn't been a part of that club.
Awesome. Thank you.
And can I just, did the club members stay, like after you've moved, do you still engage in that, or was sort of a few months and I learned it and then go on?
Once I moved, I basically graduated from it.
Okay.
I think it's still going on for those that are still dealing with downsizing and figuring out all the details of the move.
I love the term club. I'm going to stay with this. I'm just curious. Yeah.
I think about 15 or 20 of us all together, and so it was good to get acquainted with other people that were going through the same thing I was, and it was good.
I'd like to thank each and every one of you for your transparency. I have a brother that lives in Southern California, and we lost our mother in 2020. Our father passed away in 1999, so she was widowed for a very long time. And when Deborah invited me to this seminar today, I really didn't understand the multitude, but you have blessed me in tremendous ways. My father's home is in Southern California, and we still have that home. Our brother has his house. I have my house with my husband here, and then we have another house in Alabama. So hearing your stories, we've known that we have a lot of work to do. I know that I have to work with my brother and at his pace because I'm a protege of Deborah. Very organized and quick to the point, but I know that I have to do things in his speed. So just hearing your different stories and your willingness to get resources available to you and utilizing those resources have really ministered to me today. So I thank you for that. I really thank you for that.
Thank you for sharing that. Any other questions or statements? Yeah.
In the past 6 years, both of my parents have passed, and they were together for about 65 years and raised my entire family in one home. And I do not want to be the same kind of dumpster fire for my children when it's my turn. I would like to have everything organized and be prepared so that my children, there's no way that my children being raised in this Y, Z generation, they don't want my furniture. They don't want anything. They look at everything like, I don't know why you ever did that, Mom. So I want to have everything passed in a very quiet, easy fashion so that they can move on with their lives and have peace. You kind of facilitate that.
Right, so we all have different stories and will have different stories. And it's up to us to make, decisions, be proactive about them, so that our legacy is one like you mentioned, oh, Mom was great, she didn't leave me with this, that, or the other, And we got to enjoy her. Like they're enjoying Miss Dorothy right now. So I'm so impressed with the families that moved back for their parents. I mean, how touching is that? But, not everyone can home their parents. Like a lot of people expect to do the same thing that their parents did. And things that we have so many more options now. And if you don't know about them, you don't consider it as an option. So we thank you for coming to these season conversations. We hope to see you again next month. We'll be talking about in-home care and things that for the people that want to stay and put, we're going to talk about how to make that happen. And before we end this talk, I think we have a couple of gift certificates. Tamara, do you want to pull numbers or something do we have a couple of gift certificates?
Who has a birthday in the month of April?
April birthday?
April birthday.
Anybody?
No birthday? Okay, what about May?
Wow, no names.
June?
And we don't have the physical tickets now, but we do have 2 tickets for the Dallas Art Fair, which will be 21st and 22nd, I think, of this month. What other questions do you have for that winner?
Oh, okay, look at you, you have to be creative. Okay, so let's go back to March. No March, okay. June, July? All right.
Oh, look, there's 4 of us.
4. Now you got to narrow it down, there's 4.
Okay, all right. So what about birthday between, okay, give me the day.
The day.
Day of the
The
week.
date?
The
18th?
The 18th,
9.
9th. Okay, now Angela, you're gonna have to help me with this one.
Wow. Now that you've given the numbers, it won't seem fair.
Okay.
30th, right, so.
So my wife is an artist and we're already gonna be there, so it'll be a wonderful thing for you to enjoy.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
both of y'all are in July too, though, right? I thought you raised your hand.
What's that?
Wasn't your birthday in July too?
No.
Oh, okay.
September.
There's something that you all need to remember. If things get really bad and you need to sue the bastards,
Good one, George.
Thank you, George. George, you are too relaxed. You need something to do.
Can you all give them a big hand for coming up here?
We've got snacks for. Oh, wonderful.
this is edible.
Thank you.
Try it.
And thank you, Tana, for this. Appreciate you. Well, now it's time to cheers next door.